Last week, I was traveling in auto rickshaw, and at one traffic signal, we got a green signal, and on the adjacent side actually had a red signal. But two girls came on a scooter and rammed their scooter on my rickshaw. Fortunately, there was no injury, but the girl who was actually riding the scooter, she herself was shouting at the auto fellow, signal dikhta nahi hai kya, and all that. And then later on, auto fellow told me that actually it was her mistake not to look at the signal, and she broke the red signal. She passed the red signal. So what I was thinking at that time is not about the accident, because that had happened and fortunately there was no injury. The person who was culprit was complaining. The person who got affected could not complain because those were girl students driving the scooter. And that time itself, I was thinking on the scale of, on the lines of business. This is what exactly happens in a business also. Economy or industry or customers are trying to give us a signal. Either something is right or something is not correct. We don't understand the signal and we get into a trouble. So whenever such accidents happen, so accidents is a response. If these girls would not have crossed the red signal, they would have stopped. That means accident would not have happened, but that happened. Then you are thinking about a signal. Same in business. Your revenue is less, then you are thinking about how to increase your revenue. Your profit is less, then you are thinking about how to increase the profit. Or for that matter, you are not able to retain good people, then you are thinking how to do that. All this is a reaction. And then third thing is we behave. So when we are met with an accident, we have ignored the signal, our behavior is going to be reactive behavior. So we complain there is a recession, we complain that I don't have good team, we complain that the market is not good, and or government policy is not good. So when we have to complain about business, we'll complain about 100 different things. The basic idea about this session, Navigating Business in 2023, is what is different in 2023, which was not different earlier, is a gap of pandemic. And I believe that pandemic is getting a tectonic shift between not only our personal life but our work lives also. And that is what nothing but a signal. So if you are not able to understand the signal, you are always going to meet maybe an accident. But I just pray that you don't meet with such business accidents, and that is why the circus of having this session. And that is the real purpose, because I truly believe that if we all become as many as possible job givers rather than job seekers, any economy will be good for any country. And definitely for India, it is a plus sign. Good sign is that in India, we also have now a startup day. I think it's 16th of January. In college days, you must be remembering there are so many different days that we used to follow. I believe that our country is progressing, and as have started on a good note, especially like Startup India initiative, Startup Day, or I think India is into world's top 10 startup ecosystem also. So startups, business, entrepreneurship, these are all good signs. And this is what I want you to remember the first. Number one is avoid as far as possible accidents, that is business accidents, with proactive behavior. Second is always look for signals. People give us signals, economy gives us signal, companies gives us signal, society gives us signal. Check those signals. And instead of reactive behavior, go for proactive behavior. Now you must be wondering why there is a separate session on challenges. because we are already facing that. Or some of you may say that I'm not facing any challenge. That is good but very boring. Because humankind always strives for challenges. If we don't have a challenge in life, if we don't have challenge in work, if we don't have challenging studies, we will find that our life will actually become very boring. So we should always strive for a challenge. And there are numerous business challenges, and in the Q&A session definitely I would also like to know what are the challenges that you are also facing, and because of that you are participating in this session. So let me share some business challenges, especially that's happening in 2023, and then I will get into more details of each. Number one challenge, I think all of us may have read many news items about layoffs. Every day there is minimum one news item which talks about layoffs, and there is huge number of layoffs happening not only in India but globally. In fact, outside India the scale of layoffs is bigger. So I read a news item that Microsoft or Google and many such companies are doing layoffs, and these layoffs, the scale is in thousands. The news items, at least that I read about Indian companies laying off, is still in hundreds, not that big. So, but what is the sign that these layoffs are giving? Either companies want to reduce the cost, or they feel that the upcoming time there is going to be more and more challenges, or they may be finding that some team members are not competent enough to deliver. So there are n number of different aspects to it, but I feel that that is one of the signal. It may or may not happen in your company, your organization, your product, but that gives some or the other signal to the economy that something is wrong, and be careful. Second challenge that I want to share is just an example. CEO pay cut. If chief executive officer's payment is getting reduced, for example, I read a news item that Apple CEO's salary is reduced by 40%. Definitely he must be having a huge sum of money. So 40%, 60% of that salary itself will be very huge. But just considering that what you are getting as 100% is reduced to 40, you are definitely going to feel bad. If that is the scenario, it also shows that companies are looking for ways to cut cost. And if CEOs, that is the main decision makers' salary itself being reduced, that is a sign of what lays ahead for all of us in terms of the challenges for the economy, for that particular organization, or for that particular sector also. Rising prices. I believe each one of you must have experienced this rising prices in different products, different services altogether. I'm not sure if you are aware that, but Android phone prices are going to increase because of some decision by Google in terms of security aspect of Android. Or Tata Motors, I read news item that Tata Motors is looking to minimize discounts in its truck segment, which is also an indirect sign of rising prices. So if you are reducing a discount, that means you are indirectly rising a price. The other day I was talking with a rickshaw fellow, and he was telling me that the price of CNG is almost matching the price of petrol in just last 4 years time. 4 years back he was telling me it was almost one fourth. But this year it has reached almost to the cost of petrol. So all these rising prices, what impact it will have? Rising price will have impact directly on the consumption. As a consumer, you and me are definitely going to maybe check alternatives or reduce the consumption of some expensive items. I remember a few years back there was a rise in prices of onions, and I had read a news item that some shop in Delhi said that if you buy something from our shop, we'll give 1 kg of onions free, which was a very different offer for that matter. But it shows that the rising prices has immediate impact on consumption. Rising prices also has impact on government policies. So for some items, government also has to intervene to control the prices. So government's decisions will change, private sector's decisions will change. Definitely for some product, actually it is good that your prices are rising, like luxury products. If the price is high, what the customer will think? Maybe a better product. So world's most profitable company, if their product prices are rising, consumers are not stopping a demand for that product. In fact, the demand is more and more. I am giving you an example of Apple, which is the world's most profitable company. Falling profits and revenue, again a sign of challenges laying ahead. Any time a company's profit is falling, what will happen? It will have impact on rising of the salary. It will have impact on the dividends that the shareholders are going to get. So there are huge challenges in terms of falling in terms of profit and also in terms of revenue. Revenue fall is also a big challenge. Sometimes profit margin reducing is okay if your scale is very high. So consider a company like Amazon, which is not much interested into profits, but they are basically interested into long-term business. So they may end up selling many of their devices at a loss, because through those devices you are actually ordering more, which increases the overall revenue of the company. So falling profits and revenue is definitely going to be a challenge. Climate change. I did not tell you that this as a challenge because it's all known to us that climate change is a big challenge. If I give you example of Pune as a location, I feel that the rainy season time frame in Pune has increased to almost 6 months a year. If you look at the flash floods happening in a city like Pune, that has also increased because the nature of and the intensity of rain has increased, but sometimes the duration has reduced. So it may rain just for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, but it will be such a heavy rain. And I feel that there are a number of signs. I'll just give you one example. The other day I read that Sundarbans has lost 110 square kilometer of mangroves in last 2 decades. Many of us must have studied Sundarbans in geography in school. Losing 110 square kilometer of space of mangroves is immediate sign of changing environment. In 20 years also it's very huge. There are a number of other indicators for climate change which are available. Rising sea levels is another sign. So flash floods, rising sea levels, change in climate. So in rainy season, you will have variety of October heat also. In winter season, you will have little bit of summer also. So there is lot of mixed match of weather happening, and I believe that is not only happening in Pune, but across India and across the world. The weather patterns or climate patterns have also changed. Another challenge that I would like to share is declining exports. For any country, your exports should be more than imports to maintain a balance of trade. Although this challenge is only being specific to December because every month the numbers will come out. But for December, I had read that goods export dropped by 12.2% in December as global slowdown dented demand across developed and developing countries. So this has nothing to do with the type of the country or the type of the economy, whether developed or developing. For both types of countries, exports have declined. And you can definitely correlate this to pandemic or the business situation or the business sentiment also is out there. I should have avoided talking about recession because every day the news items somewhere or the other you are definitely going to read a news item about recession, or I will call it as a recessionary trends. For example, I read one news item which talked about India may face recession in the month of June. Now this is a prediction. Another item that I read and which talks about Japan reporting inflation of 4%. I believe in India we have more inflation than Japan, but this also becomes a news item in that particular country. So rising inflation is a big challenge globally, and it says that not only it is going to hit 4%, but it's a 41-year high in the month of December. So in last 41 years, 4% is highest inflation that has happened in Japan. Tata Industries is likely to reevaluate its business strategy. Company told not to incubate any new business without approval. Such a big group like Tata Group, if that group says that any new business that you want to start, incubation is like you start small, incubate, that means support that particular business, and if once it goes big, then it's on its own. They have also reduced such business ideas implementation in-house in terms of starting a new business. One survey I read which talked about 78% CEOs are predicting decline in global economic growth. Now, if 78% CEOs are saying that they are foreseeing economic slowdown, that is a signal that all of us should know about, because CEOs are like pilots of their ship or their aeroplane, which they can see what may happen in the next 6 months, 1 year, or for that matter 5 years also. But I'm also going to talk about how you can overcome these challenges. So these are just the challenges; those are there being shared through different media. Retention is also a big challenge. I read one survey done by LinkedIn which talked about retention. So 4 out of 5 Indian pros looking for a new job this year. I mean, this ratio is really troublesome for many companies, because there are 2 challenges for companies. One is getting good employees, and second challenge is retaining the ones who are good. So if 4 out of 5 are going to change their job, it is a big challenge. And for many organizations, employees are their biggest asset, especially for services companies, wherein the impact is really high, really huge. Cyber security. Again, every day I believe you will be reading maybe at least one news item that there is maybe somebody got a message which looked like you got a lottery or something like that. Click that message, filled up some information, and money was withdrawn from your account. Or somebody called you for OTP, bank OTP, and did some transaction, or a number of other things. Or some company may have lost your customer data. That means your data stored with that company, and millions of customer data is being lost. These items are also very regular. So this example I have given about T-Mobile, where it said that a hacker stole data of 37 million customers. So this is just one news item I am mentioning, but there are numerous news items that you will find. What it says, that data is not secure. Artificial intelligence, I believe this is again a very common word these days, and there are numerous news items. Many of you in last few days must have read many news items about ChatGPT, which is becoming very popular. Microsoft has put in 10 billions in ChatGPT. Many organizations don't have their turnover also or revenue also of these many dollars. That kind of amount companies investing in artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is also going to become a challenge, and how to harness the power of artificial intelligence. Because I personally have been listening about artificial intelligence for more than 22 years now. But thankfully, for the first time, you have direct access to applications which are using artificial intelligence, and many a time these are available for free, which was not happening 22 years back. Closing down businesses. Many companies are closing down their sub-businesses. I have just given example of Zomato, which is set to close its 10 minutes food delivery business called as Instant. Like that, many organizations, their new businesses or small business ideas within an organization, they are shutting down. This sign shows that maybe companies are foreseeing that the growth rate may not be as good as what they may have got last year or maybe before pandemic. And closing down business is also a challenging environment. I believe I have read news items about Google also, wherein they have reduced incubating different business ideas and in number of other companies. So what these all challenges are hinting us that if economy is not upbeat for these companies, and some of them are very big companies, then what will happen to us? And I'll talk about that part also. Why I feel that I can talk about recession or economic trends is because I have made couple of decisions at wrong time, but fortunately with efforts I have survived those decisions. One example I can share is around 2001 I passed out of my MBA course, and those of you who were around there 2001, it was a dot-com bust. And dot-com bust is nothing but at that point of time there was no term like startup, but there were many businesses who said that we want to develop a new product, we want to develop a new service, and some people started giving funds to them, and others thought that if they are giving funds to these kind of companies which are not existent, these are just ideas, we should also do it. And like that, if 50 people did it initially, the other 100 are thinking, oh, I should also do it. And more people started investing in such startups. And what happened? It's like a house of cards. One card, if you remove, it will collapse. Similarly, another event happened in 2001. That event is called as 9/11, September 11. Twin Towers were attacked by militants and Twin Towers in New York collapsed. But that was just one part. The other part was people started reducing travel. Reduction in travel directly impacted business. Businesses also reduced their expenses, their revenues decreased and all that. Around that time only I entered a job market. But fortunately for me, I had done numerous internships while doing my MBA course. I remember almost 5 internships. Compulsory is only 1, but I did 5. So in the 4th semester of my MBA program itself, I got my first job. Then after passing out also, I got another job. What I'm trying to tell you is that we can overcome the economic and business cycle. I started my consulting practice in year 2009. In India, there is a trend that most of the consultants are retired from their full-time job and then they start consultancy. So when I was taking guidance from one consultant, he was telling me, Sachin, in India, if you are grey-haired, then only you are considered a consultant. And then I was thinking that what should I do to bridge the gap? So I decided to do PhD. Because many of these consultants may not have PhD. So I started pursuing PhD since 2009, completed my PhD in 2013. And I could overcome that challenge. Thankfully, till now I am surviving in consulting business. But why I'm giving you this example? In 2008, another thing happened. This subprime crisis. For those of you who are not aware, subprime crisis happened in US. And what happened? Those people who should not get loan got loans. And companies were knowing that some of these people will not be able to pay back the loans. That's why they are called as subprime, below the prime. Rating agencies which were supposed to red flag such financial institutions and products actually did nothing, and in fact gave good rating to financial products which were developed on top of these subprime loans. And as expected, the house of cards collapsed. And what happened? You must have heard of Lehman Brothers. Okay, so that company went down. That was just a signal. Many other things happened. Many people lost job in those scenarios. For many companies, their product, services, revenue, profitability, everything got affected. I was in Silicon Valley in 2008 for a couple of months, and I could see visibly that there are boards saying that to let or for sale. That means many real estate places were available for sale or available for rent. It is also a sign that economy is into challenging situation. When I came back to India, I was telling some of the businesses that you should be careful. If it's happening in US, it is definitely going to happen or at least affect globally. And many companies, CEOs and directors were telling me, Sachin, nothing like that is going to happen in India. And as many of you must have experienced, that had a big impact here in India also in 2008, 2009. And you will find that all these situations like .com burst or 9/11 or subprime crisis have their impact, which has a ripple effect. What is a ripple effect? If I give you example of tsunami. In tsunami, what happens? A tectonic shift happens between two plates, and these plates are land plates which are in sea, deep sea. So if you remember any tsunami, the tectonic shift happens, so these two plates, one of the plate may change its location. That happens at a few hundred kilometers in sea, not near to land. But when that happens, it creates a ripple effect, and that ripple effect comes to land, and when it comes to land, that is very big impact. Same thing that I have observed happens to an economy. Such economic challenges are not going to be one point agenda. They are going to have a ripple effect. And that's where I would like to introduce you to a business cycle or economic cycle. Many of you must be aware. If you are not aware, I would like to introduce that to you. So if on one axis, if we have gross domestic product, in short, whatever a country develops as a product, service put together, on another axis is the time. Over a period of time, economy will always go in cycle. Sometimes it will go up, sometimes it will stay there, and sometimes it's definitely going to drop down. And definitely it's going to come back again. Like in nature, growth is never a straight line. You will find that in your personal growth, you will find that in a company's growth, you will find that in nature also. There is never a straight growth. Same in business, same in economy. There will be a peak, there will be a contraction. So there is a reduction in growth is also called as contraction. I'll give you example of IT industry. Take example of Indian IT industry, which is always into growth phase. So even if there is less growth, the industry is not happy. That is what is happening to some companies, contraction. Then there is a trough wherein you are at the bottom of the economic cycle. So this 2008 period, 2001 period that I was talking about. Then you pick up momentum, expansion. Then economy starts going up. Your company may find that there are more opportunities, revenue is increasing, profit is increasing, and then you reach a peak. Once you reach a peak, be sure you are going to someday or the other come down. Now definitely to this there are exceptions. So let me give you an example of Bill Gates, who was the richest person in the world for many years, and his company like Microsoft, or take example of Apple also. They may or may not feel any hit, much hit from these kind of economic cycles. But you still find that the CEO's pay is cut by 40%. That means there is a indicator. So definitely there are exceptions to the current common general market scenarios. The other day I was talking with one IT product company. They told me that their problem is a different kind of a problem. And then I was asking, the lady was talking with me that what is the problem? She was telling me that we have excellent revenue, we have great sales, but we don't have a market visibility. I was telling her that, asking her what is the problem. She is saying that her company's sales happens with word of mouth. One customer who is satisfied tells another prospective customer this product is good, go for it. Like that, they have a team of around 10 salespeople. All are always busy with enough requirements. Company is also having almost 20% annual growth rate. With good product, good feedback, good service, word of mouth. But now company wants to scale up and they don't have visibility. So they want to develop the visibility maybe through branding or different ways. That is why they are calling me to ask, what can be done. Now, this problem is different. They are not talking about survival. They are talking about growth. How we can increase the growth. Like in cricket, earlier test cricket was popular. Then what happened to cricket? One day cricket. Then we were thinking, now test to one day, okay. Then what came in? 2020. And tomorrow, I believe, definitely I am quite sure, that something else will come with shorter span, more attention and bigger budgets. So what happens if you want to survive in all this is you have to adapt to the situation happening around you. Otherwise, either you change or somebody else will change you. As simple as that. Nature also has same formula. Business also has same formula. And I can give you numerous examples of companies who have not adopted the business cycle and said that, we will not change. Let my customers change. So customers change these companies altogether. And I can give you many examples, like Kodak at one point of time was very popular with cameras when we had camera rolls as such. Okay, they invented digital camera, but they did not promote digital camera because I believe that their camera roll sale will get affected. So all other companies came into picture and made very big in digital cameras. Kodak company failed miserably. Sony created Sony Walkman. Those of you who have used audio cassettes will remember Sony Walkman. There was a product called as Sony Walkman. So there was a small cassette player and you had a headphone along with that, wired headphone. That product was very successful. After that, Sony company did not move to digital audio. Another company went into that and made it very successful. That is iPod. Apple became successful. If you are not aware, iPod had a memory chip that was developed by Sony. Then I can give you example of companies like BlackBerry, who was at one point of time very successful, went out of the market because they did not use the understanding that customers are moving to touchscreen mobile phones, and many such examples. So business cycle or economic cycle is very important for all of us to understand that growth and contraction or trough or expansion is all part and parcel of business. If you want to survive in a market for any product or a company or for individual also, you should remember that there is nothing called as continuous growth. Can some of you know the movie from which the scene is there? Shole. So when we were talking about signals, I started the discussion with the help of signals, right? Sometimes people will create unnecessary signals. Those of you who have seen the movie, do you remember this scene and what this is all about? So two characters played by Amitabh Bachchan and Dharmendra, what they do, they create a rumor saying that there is some hidden tunnel being constructed inside a jail that reaches the leader, that is the jailer. And what they do is that they hit up one iron bar, they hide it, and they make feel of that hidden bar that there is some kind of an entrance to the tunnel. And what happens is that the jailer comes, the leader comes and says that how it can happen that I am not aware. I am aware because I have developed an intelligence, and through my intelligent agents I have found a tunnel. He goes to check the what exactly is behind the cover, and there is a heated iron bar, and he gets a shock of it. Same thing happens to the leaders who are not prepared, and they go for some signals which are not right signals at all. I'm going to narrate an interesting story which is a forwarded story many a times, so you may have heard the story and I don't know the originator. One successful business owner, he sends her daughter to study outside India to do her engineering, MBA, this, that. One day he was chatting with his daughter, and his daughter says that, father, there is a recession happening. He says, okay, what exactly is happening? No, there is a big trouble. He ignores that. Daughter comes back to India and she says that now I will be taking active part in business. And she again repeats saying that there is a recession happening. The father also starts to think that there is a recession happening. So he asks his daughter, what should we do? She tells him that we should reduce the cost. So they start to reduce the cost. Then she tells him that reduce the workforce. He starts reducing the workforce. What will happen with all these actions? The quality of the product and service goes down. Automatically, revenue and profitability goes down. And what happens? Father tells his daughter, you are right, there is a recession. Actually, his business was not getting affected because of the recession or economic situation. Many a times you are definitely going to get some bad signal. Always remember that economic trend may have general perception, but it may not be affecting your industry altogether. Same happens with what is happening right now in terms of the different news items that you are getting, different experts talking about economy in different manners. So I have done the entire PhD research on this topic. How 2008 economic crisis affected Indian IT industry. And my finding was that Indian IT industry was not much affected. So, signal says that economy is not good. Do you agree? Many news items are saying so. So, it may not be related to your industry, it may not be related to your product, it may not be related to your service. Don't go by general understanding. Go by specific understanding for your business, your organization, your industry. When we get bad signals which are not right, we take bad decisions. Just because some news items are saying that economy is not good, your decision making should not only be affected by somebody's decisions. If many companies are reducing their employee size, doesn't mean that your company should also do that. And bad decisions will going to definitely end up into bad results. Same we may have experienced when we were students. Somebody will tell you, oh, out of this 200 questions, these 10 questions are the most important. They are definitely going to come in exam. Have you experienced that? And then you see the question paper at the time of exam. And there is no question out of that 10 questions. You got bad signal, you took bad decision, and your results are going to be really bad. But forget that advice of 10 questions. If you prepare for that subject sincerely, whatever is the question, you can definitely attempt the question. You may not get great marks, but you can definitely get good marks. Same with the business. If you are going to focus on bad signals, like the example that I shared, you are definitely going to get bad decisions. And with bad decisions, what you are going to get is bad results. And this trend, believe me, you are definitely going to see in the market. And if you recollect our discussion, next year on 28th of January 2024, please let me know if you have observed any situation where you saw this bad signal, bad decision and bad results. Are you with me? Now I'm going to show you one interesting video.
Fan at the front of the engine pulls air around the engine and sucks air into the core. We'll come back to that outside air in a moment. For now, let's follow the air in the core. It goes into a compressor, something like many household fans joined together. Each fan gets smaller and smaller as the blades squeeze the air into a tighter and tighter space, compressing the air like you would squeeze a balloon, until that squeezed air is mixed with jet fuel, a kind of super gasoline. In the combustor, that air and fuel mixture meets a flame and shoots out the back of the engine. The rush of hot air spins a turbine. The turbine is like a windmill that scoops up energy from the heated air and spins the shaft connected to the fan at the front of the engine. The excess hot air from the combustor blows out the back of the engine, producing thrust. Remember that air rushing outside the engine core? Together, the turbine and fan push a larger mass of air than the core ever can, for much more thrust. But that extra air passing around the engine core works more efficiently if it moves more slowly than the hot air rushing out the combustor and the back of the engine. One of the first engine makers, Pratt & Whitney, recently designed a new jet engine that lets the fan push air more slowly.
Are you aware of the engine? What is that engine? Jet engine. So before jet engine, are you aware with what type of engine was there? It is still there for some aircrafts. It's called as a propeller. So there is a fan. You have seen aeroplanes with the fan kind of a engine. Okay, so after propeller, when jet engine was invented, that entire era is called as jet era. Because what has happened is that travel became faster. And it propelled not only aviation industry, but it propelled many economies. And in fact, for that matter, globalization. Now, I want to connect this jet engine, how it works, to the area of business. Because if we understand how jet engine works and how the next part of business plan, which is related to jet engine movement, works, then you can propel your career, your product, your service, your business to jet speed. Okay? So there are 4 steps as the video explained. The first step in jet engine is where a fresh air is sucked inside an engine. When the fresh air is sucked into an engine, it is squeezed because of the design of the engine. When the air is squeezed, Later on, it is injected with the fuel. What is that fuel called? Jet fuel. And it is very expensive. It is a very important component of the expenses for any airline industry. When it is exposed, it is also called as internal combustion engine that we have regularly in our vehicles. Same mechanism happens is that the fuel is introduced to the squeezed air, and what happens? It creates a bang. When it creates a bang, it creates a blow. It goes out, the hot air goes out of the engine very fast. And that's where this 4-step suck, squeeze, bang and blow creates a thrust. Creates a thrust so that the aircraft can go fast. Not only fast, it can reverse the gravity. So you start flying, which earlier only birds used to do. Now what happened? Same mechanism. If I tell you that when you are sucking in air in a jet engine, correlate that with identifying your business plan objective. Whatever is the situation of your product, your some company, your career also for that matter, what exactly you want to achieve? We want to be a world-class quality service provider. Let's say if an organization says that. Second part of his squeeze is designing a business plan at functional level. Once you identify your objective, then you are squeezing that objective to a next level. That is, you prepare a functional plan for that. What is a functional plan? Every organization has different functions. Like there is a production, there is quality control, there is human resources, there is sales, there is marketing and all that. So identify which functions will focus on what. That is being followed with the third phase, that is bang. When bang happens, like in a jet engine, when the fresh air goes inside the engine and introduced with the jet fuel, bang happens. Similarly, when your products and services are exposed to external environment or a business environment, you should be aware of what kind of a business environment is out there. If you are not aware, nobody else cares. And the fourth part is blow, where you actually execute your business plan. And all businesses, all products, all services, whatever is the scale of your business, startup, grown up, mature, all businesses should have a business plan. It is not that only when you are starting a business you should have a business plan. Now your business plan may be called different terminologies altogether. Somebody may call it as annual operating plan, somebody may call it strategic plan or whatnot. Now I am going to explain all these 4 steps in details with the help of example. But let me give you one overall example as such. Tata Nano. Everybody is aware of Tata Nano, right? Is it a success story or a failure story? Yeah. Failure story, unfortunately, all of us would have liked if it would have been success. What was the objective?
Affordable cars for middle class.
Affordable cars for middle class. Anything else? Are you aware what was the inspiration for starting such project or product?
Tata saw family traveling on two
Yes. So the business decision maker saw a family going on a bike, and there were more than definitely 2 people riding on the bike, which was not safe. And he thought that you should have an affordable, like you rightly said, affordable vehicle to travel. Simple idea, basic idea. So that discussion started further, and company made an announcement that will be developing such a product. Based on what I have researched, it happens that one of the reporter actually came out with a news item that the Tata Group is coming up with car with price tag of 1 lakh rupees. And Ratan Tata ji took that as a challenge. Is what based on his interview I read. That challenge being taken at the price level, that we are going to sell a vehicle at 1 lakh rupees price. Third aspect, business environment. From the moment the product was announced and to the moment that product was manufacturing was started, there was a huge gap. Some of you may recollect some important things have changed. Initially, the car was supposed to be manufactured at new plant in West Bengal, and there was lot of problems and a lot of chaos. So they moved the plant to Gujarat. By the time they made this shift and starting from the idea of announcing such a car to actual production, raw material cost increased by 40%. Okay, can you imagine the price is fixed, but cost has increased by 40%. So what was something that was going to cost 100 rupees now is costing you 140 rupees. So your revenue, profit, everything is affected. And below the execution. So definitely they must have found out some challenges in executing. Idea was simple, execution was challenging. How can you make that vehicle affordable? How can you make that vehicle safe? How can you make that vehicle good looking also? And by the time the vehicle actually came to market, the consumer's taste and preferences had also changed. Okay. Now let me explain each step. Let's take example of objective. Your business can have n number of objectives. Like I have listed 15 over there. There can be many more objectives in terms of your business. So some businesses may have focus on acquiring new customer. Some may have objective of developing a solid team. Some may say that now we are going for funds. We need funds. And don't imagine that only startups need funds. In fact, grown-up businesses also need funds, and they need funds in huge amount. So all these templates and everything that I am sharing is available in the book that I authored called as Designing Effective Business Plan. Why I am sharing this is your objective can be different. So set that objective. In fact, within the industry, same industry sector also, your competition may have different objective. Some companies focus on quality, some focus on revenue, some focus on scale, some focus on good service, and so on. Digitization, scaling up. I gave you an example of company which wants to scale up. So first decide your business objective, followed by functional design. So why you need to focus on functions? Again, your focus on functions will change. Some company or an organization is focusing on sales and marketing. Somebody will say that no, sales and marketing, we are not worried about getting business. We have a lot of business. Our problem is project management. Somebody may say that, oh, that is not a problem for us. Our problem is finance. Each company may want to focus on different things. Earlier, companies used to focus on departments. Departments is nothing but departments means one compartment you break down into pieces. Overall business is same. Then you have a different production function, you have quality function, finance function, accounts, this, that. Today's businesses cannot think in terms of departments. It's an entire company, entire organization. So the challenges are different. Identify what are the focus functions for you or focus functions for your business. Next, business plan at business environment level. What kind of a business environment is there? What kind of customer environment is there? Earlier, we used to have landline computers. Then we got mobile phones. At the introduction of mobile phones, I remember using a mobile phone when there was a charge for incoming call, 16 rupees per minute. So we used to check who is calling and based on that only take a call. Today, you immediately take a call because there is no charge for incoming call, right? So then what kind of infrastructure you will need for that, and then what kind of a project. So all this broken down into different pieces. How business environment is changing in terms of internal environment within your organization. So other day I was talking with my friend who is working in a IT company, and he manages a very big team. 5 managers report to him, and team size is more than 50 or something like that, focusing on the customer support area. So he was telling me that we get 200 issues, customer support issues every day. And when I see that when we are not responding to those 200 issues, I can immediately identify that at least one team member from my team is not working properly. So I call them up and I ask them what happened. Then somebody says that no, I had gone to school, to my kids' school. I had gone for some shopping or whatnot, because in IT industry, work from home or today work from anywhere is possible, right? So all these things, because environment has changed. He was telling me, Sachin, now employees also don't feel bad when they change the job. Because earlier you was changing offices, you have direct connect with some office. Today, only thing that changes is from whose bank account the salary is credited. Almost the nature of job is also may remain same. Maybe your team players or team members are changing, but that's okay. Still you are at your home only, work from home. So environment has changed. Adopting to new environment is very much important. Technological changes, learning environment has changed in last 2 years time. How many of you have did some or the other online course in last 2 years time? I know many of you did. But if I had told you to do any online course 2 years back, no. So for that, what kind of infrastructure required also changes. For example, I have added mindset as an infrastructure. So you have to sometimes change the mindset of your team also to adopt to business environment. And all this becomes different parts of projects. So all this, if you want to execute, you have to break down into projects. Like customer acquisition is a project, developing skills is a project, creating a plan to get funds is also a project, doing some kind of shortlisting of problems is also a project, evaluating alternatives is also a project. For example, you want to buy a new machinery in your company. You may find that many of these machines, especially in manufacturing industries, are imported. Which machine to buy? Which machine will have good after-sales service? What kind of a cost involved in after-sales service and whatnot? So all these are going to have impact on your business. And before I conclude, I want to introduce you to a type of a business planner. Why I am introducing a type of a business planner? Because for whatever we are discussing business change, if you are not a business planner, then you are a reactive person. If you are a business planner, you are a proactive person. But I have created 4 quadrants for that. On one axis you have a level of practice, on another axis you have level of awareness. Okay? If you are not aware of business planning and your level of practice in your trade, whatever product service that you are doing, then you are unaware of that. So become aware, that is quadrant 2. Now you are aware, but you may not have that much of experience. Quadrant 3 is beware. There you have a lot of practice, you are experienced, but you are not much conversant with awareness about business planning. Ultimate is quadrant 4, gold medal. That is practitioner. You know about business planning and you are also having lot of experience. Ideal situation is to move from quadrant 1 to 2, 2 to 3 and 3 to 4. So you yourself should find out where do you stand. And on a closing note, I would like to say that road to success is always under construction. Okay, so thank you very much. I'll stop my talk over here and we can now do the question and answer.